Welcome to the $3 Podcast. My name is Travis Partington, your host and guide through this family journey of the $3 going to and running their business. Business says, welcome to the show. And for this one, this is the third episode of this series about, building and B2B generation. And we're talking about the front of the house, how it looks to a customer or someone checking out the business. And that is all Jameson Buckley. We talked to his father, Eric. We talked to Aiden, who is the technical side of the house. And today I've got him, folks. The man right here, Jameson Buckley, who handles the brand and social side of the operation. Jameson has what might be the hardest job, believe it or not. He has to make content syndication interesting online to guys like me and people like yourself, which may sound impossible, but he does it every day. Jameson, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're talking like this, considering that you used to play with my kids.
Right.
But how'd you go from that to being the social and content guy for the family's lead generation agency?
Yeah.
And what drew you into this?
It was actually a relatively natural progression, I would say, because I went from, I was in high school. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do with my life. I thought I would just get a boring business job somewhere. So that's where my head was kind of at. Looking towards that stuff, I started seeing creators and stuff online that were interesting to me, that happened to be marketers, and what they did really interested me. I started getting more into ads and things like that, seeing which ones I liked and why I liked them and not. Definitely annoyed my girlfriend a few times, like, look at that ad on the screen, like, who cares, at a commercial. But then that progressed eventually into me realizing, okay, I can turn this into something that actually interests me some more. Let's bring in fashion, one of my other interests. And they kind of go hand in hand. Marketing, it's all about how you present yourself. Same with fashion. And so I went to school for fashion marketing after I graduated. And then I got the opportunity to work with my family, and who wouldn't say yes to that? And one step led to another, and now I'm a marketer.
Very nice, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Content syndication is not a very, sexy topic, and it won't even go viral.
No.
But how do you and how have you made this category interesting to cool young marketers like yourself?
I think, especially going into the young aspect of that, I think a lot of people around my age, my generation, are kind of getting disenfranchised with the overly technical, overly sleek, overly new age aspect of a lot of things nowadays. And so returning to form, returning to something that classically works, that you can hand off and get something back, a lot of people like the sound of that.
Then who are you trying to reach with LeadSpot's content?
Definitely trying to reach other marketers, other demand gen people, trying to get anybody who needs more customers. I'm trying to get them,
And people like me who don't know anything about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got to inform.
What have you figured out then about what works on LinkedIn for a small, growing B2B brand that's competing against industry mainstays? What gets engagement that's repeatable? That's a $64,000 question.
Not right. You got to look for the strengths of those industries, at least from my perspective. They're enormous conglomerates with thousands of employees, thousands of marketers, where I'm one guy. And that might seem intimidating, but there's actually something to take advantage of there, where if I'm one guy, I can be a familiar face to these people, where if I just keep pumping out videos, they'll get to know me, they'll get to trust me, they'll get to trust my brand. And videos, it's proven today, they're just going to get more engagement. And especially if you make that your differentiator. Like pumping out videos where all these other brands are pumping out graphics, people are going to look at your stuff more, pay attention more.
So Gary Vee was right. It's getting the video reps in.
Always.
Okay. Some say that content syndication has a reputation problem to fight. That the bad experience some people have had with content syndication brands leads to just a bad taste. How do you address that in your content without sounding defensive or preachy?
No, yeah, that is definitely something that comes up, but it's easier than you would expect, because when you really zoom out, everything in business, everything is a cycle. So yeah, content syndication might have been on the outs a couple of years ago, especially like 2 or 3 years ago. People were really not having it, but it's coming back. It's like everything else, it's going to come back in favor and people are going to start loving it. So you got to ride that wave, be there for it, and then just prove it to people with case studies, stats, real quotes, and real statistics that show how effective it can really be.
AI generated content is flooding everyone's feeds, no matter the platform. I mean, it is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like, oh my God. How do you stand out when everyone's posting more than ever?
Oh yeah, AI generated content can be a boon for small businesses, right? Like I know we have used it. It's really something great. But a lot of the AI generated content out there isn't really effective in what it was meant to be doing. You know, people will just write a prompt, stick it in and get something that looks nice to their eyes, post it up. But that generated content can be, you know, geared towards actually grabbing those LLMs, getting their citations, informing them in the future. And then even for people, you know, you really use it to your advantage, where a lot of people just kind of use it as a quantity over quality tool.
Well, it's a very interesting question that comes next is, and the one that I'm asked all the time about what I do is, how do you measure whether social and content creation is contributing to the business's bottom line? For example, I'm not a business philosopher like radio, but I get asked all the time, well, does this content help you move your brand forward with sponsors and other things like that? And it's a very interesting question. It can be hard to track back to the source, right? Is there a set of metrics or standards that you use to do that or would point me to?
That is something that has plagued me since the beginning. It's something that I at least have not fully figured out, I'm going to be honest. It's something that will always be in the back of my mind. Am I doing enough? Is this actually helping enough? But that's when you can then, start looking at things that are concrete, like people telling you they're coming from LinkedIn, telling you they're coming from Reddit, wherever they may be coming from, and looking at things like how well you're being cited by the LLMs. That is a huge thing that I have a lot of play in, in what I do every day. And it's very easy to check with something like Outright.
So let me just go off the course just a tad, because say like in podcasting, or if you're an artist, or even, dad's plumbing business down the street, and you create content and you see like, oh my God, that person's getting 100,000 views a day. But you start looking, it's like, well, wait a minute, there's no real engagement. There's no real question asking. There's no real comments. Does Outright help? Because, and to me, when I see that, I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's a bot doing that. They paid somebody who's running a bot farm overseas to do that. Does Outright measure that differently? If I'm doing my real content generation and Outright sees it, isn't Outright doing something differently than that?
Totally. Outright isn't even going to kind of look at those people, right?
Okay.
Like that doesn't matter to Outright.
Really?
Outright wants to see how you are answering that question for the LLMs. And that is arguably more important, because there's only 4 or 5 big LLMs that people are using, while there's millions and billions of people out there. So if you can answer the question for the LLM, then they'll start showing your video, they'll start showing you to everybody asking that question, and you'll get in front of, so many more people.
And that's what you all do.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so you have a choice when you're, broadcasting or marketing your content or trying to grow. The Outright solution's better than the bot farm.
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay, it's just important to note, because I've had people, well, I got 30,000 downloads and my podcast is only 2 months old. I'm like, there's no way.
Right. Yeah. The bots, they do serve a purpose, as repugnant as some people might think they are. They do serve a purpose. A lot of people will just see that 30,000 download thing and be like, whoa, 30,000 downloads, okay, and not kind of look that second layer deeper.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is the outright platform is not looking at layer; it's looking layers deeper,
Exactly.
and it's able to bubble those layers up to the right people. I found, and the reason I'm saying this, folks, is they turned down outright.ai for my podcast website, and within 90 days, I'm seeing more engagement, and not only more engagement, Jameson, but I'm seeing like big name, entities reaching out to me saying, hey, we want to have our person come on your show, or, we want to talk to you about how you do your thing, versus what happened before where it was, really hit or miss. It's really, I've been asked, well, why don't you pursue award shows and stuff like that, the typical podcast, marketing thing. I'm like, well, I don't have to.
Yeah.
The platform is structured to put to what you just said. With people asking the questions about a show that fits their criteria, like mine, it's giving them the answer.
Yep. You just get slotted right in there. It's really that easy.
No, I know. I just want to go down that road a little bit because I think I want to show a real world answer to someone's question about it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. You're working with your dad and your brother every day.
Yep.
Every day. And that's rare, right? Think about how many, I don't know that many father and sons businesses.
No, seriously, it's a blessing.
Okay, so honestly, it's a blessing. But I gotta ask, do you argue about strategy sometimes?
I think there's...
Sometimes.
I don't want to say there's more days with arguments, but, there's definitely... you can't fire your brother, so there's some arguments. There's definitely some arguments, and because we have very different personalities, and 90% of the time that is such a great thing for the business. We can each focus on what we're great at, and they're so entirely different that it helps us out. But sometimes we definitely clash. But that's the other great thing about being family, is you'll always come back together. Nothing is too big.
At the end of the day, you all have grown so much. It must.
Oh my God, yeah, exponentially. It's just been, like I always say, even if it all falls apart tomorrow, who cares? We already made it. We get to work full time together. It's
a rare thing, and it must be a blessing.
Right.
What do you bring to the team that the other two just don't or can't or won't?
That's what I was kind of saying with the different personalities. I am extremely different from my brother and my father. I am definitely a more creative, more in my own way, hands-on, but definitely like in a particular way. They are definitely, like Aiden is one of the most hands-on person out there. He needs to have his fingers in every pie, but I'm definitely a perfectionist in a way that I think he isn't. I'm more similar to my dad in that way, but it definitely works together. I think my best thing that I bring to the business, though, is just my creativity. I made that spot. I made this orange. I make everything you see.
And the orange does stand out.
And I think so.
It certainly did. I was at the VA doing some, filming and interviews, and people asked about LeadSpot and what it was. They saw the orange color, so
right.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Right.
Last question. If someone's trying to build a social presence for a niche B2B brand with limited resources, what's your number one point of advice?
And I'm definitely going to be biased here.
Okay.
But video. Get in front of a camera. Everybody's got a cell phone with a camera. Just get in front of a camera and start making videos. You need to be recognized. You need to be recognizable. You need to be seen as someone of expertise in your field. And the only way you get that is with video, in my opinion. Because nobody... there's newsletters out there. I don't read a single newsletter. So, and I'm definitely not the only one. Video.
I agree with you. Just in the podcasting and content creation space, I have had this, argument that, a true podcast is audio only. But I'm like, hey, are you looking to the YouTube stats? A show that goes video, even if it's just two people talking on a couch in a basement, does better than a strict audio show anymore. People want to see.
Yeah, even if it's just two guys on a couch, people want to see. It's so much. I don't know. It ticks so many weird subliminal boxes in people's brains. You just gotta be making video.
There you go. Make video. You can do it. Well, thank you, Jameson, for talking with me. We're wrapping up this 3-episode arc on B2B generation and the challenges therein for the LeadSpot team. If you missed any of the previous episodes with Eric and or Aiden, go back and listen. Getting the whole picture is worth it, trust me. What I took from the series is that content syndication has been around for a while, but LeadSpot has built their path in a completely different way. Human verified leads, a network of over 20,000 publisher properties, reaching 200 million people a month. And you know, I've seen it work for me. I have. A client portal that removes all the heavy lifting, and a team that cares about your results above everything else. And again, I'm just an independent podcaster, but I feel cared for. Check them out at lead-spot.net to learn more. I'm Travis Partington. This is the $3 Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. All right.